is that I saw each person at each table making, I think, really important decisions about where to prioritize your time. Some people thought about these end of round zero pitfalls the entire period. Others thought through them for 15, 20 minutes and then came back to the biggest priority that they pulled out at the beginning of this work period. I think depending on what your regional needs are, those are all great and important decisions. I'm really glad that we're being purposeful with our time that way. The second point that I think is important here is that we came up with these pitfalls with the intention that your conclusions about them can turn into objectives in your round zero plans. So the ideas that you came up with about knowledge and mindsets and skills that your PDs would need should be able to be things that you write as objectives for the end of round zero part of your plan. So we didn't want that to be disconnected from your work. Really, this should transfer over directly to what you're going to do. I think the third thing is that this is not necessarily something that you need to finish planning right now, and I know that there are very pressing planning needs for the earlier parts of round zero. I do think, though, that these pitfalls, we heard about these pitfalls a lot at the end of round zero last year, and I think that they are really important and critical. And I think that at the end of this session, you should make sure you know when you're going to return to them and when you'll have plans and objectives for how you're going to set up your PDs to handle these pitfalls, because I think that they're just critical bridges to our work in round one and our ability to move our teachers towards their goals. So hold on to this and make sure you know when you'll want to come back to it so that you can set your PDs up for success ongoing. Felicia and I were talking about this a little bit, and Felicia, could you just give us your perspective on where this will fit in round zero planning and what you think is important?
Sure, and I'm sure many of you have already thought of this already, but just thinking about like the PD objectives section of our plan and thinking about like our professional development plan for them and what that's going to look like. I think the relatively weaker part of that right now, and I would say this for myself, and I think I've heard this elsewhere as well, the relatively weaker section, I think, are the PD development objectives with regard to the last part of round zero. And I think that's just because we just have more experience with the first part of round zero, and that ends up being top of mind. But it's really that ongoing development piece and setting people up for the last section of round zero that is not only the most critical, I think, for everything what we learned this week, but also the area where we have the most just to learn about what it looks like to do that at a really high level. So what I imagine us being able to do is, given the work that we did in the past 45 minutes and coming up with like a list of PD objectives aligned to those certain pitfalls, we can then take those and literally pop them into our spreadsheet with our PD or our plan, our round zero plan, and add them to the list of PD development objectives. And once we've got a really comprehensive list, then go back, refine, combine them, prioritize them, and then decide what we're going to do with them. So hopefully what you've been able to generate today, you can literally cut and paste them, slap them in your round zero spreadsheet, and make it use it that way.
Thank you. So it has been such a pleasure to be thinking about PD training with you the last couple of days from every aspect of round zero. I'm going to pass it over to Samantha to close us out.
So I think Felicia's point is just a good one. It's a priority that we may not have set up when we started our time together this morning. We all started our time with saying, here are my 2 or 3 biggest priorities. And I think what our last couple of hours just framed for me, or perhaps I hadn't identified that a big priority needed to be PD development at the latter weeks of round zero. And so that may be something I want to move to the top of my list. It may actually be that the things I identified early on in the session are still my biggest priorities. That said, I think we want to be thinking about the end of round zero at some point in our planning scope over the next couple months. But I think if nothing else, when we take away from our time and we head into our work time, I just want us to consistently be in the habit of doing what we talked about yesterday on the PD level, which is just really using our good judgment and identifying, here are my biggest priorities right now, and this is where I'm going to spend my time. These are the things that I must nail in round zero first, given the team that I have, given the team that's coming on, given what else is going on for me right now. And so I would really want us to just consistently operate with that scope of like, here is what my priorities are, and here's why I feel confident that that's where I want to spend my time. I also think the big message and takeaway that I want us to have, especially as we head into working time, to really make the work time valuable, and I know that this is always helpful for someone like me who lives in the theoretical clouds, is during our work time, we want to make our plans very actionable. We want to literally say, here's the objective I need my PDs to master, but we don't want to stop there. We want to literally say, and how I'm going to actualize that is during check-ins for these 5 weeks of round 0, I'm going to ask about, we're going to norm on deliverables during week 1. During week 2, we're going to norm on deliverables again. During week 3, what we're going to do is we're going to be in the field and we're going to look at how deliverables work together in combination in practice and also what the things are on paper. During week 4, our team is going to do this in partnership. 2 PDs are going to go out together and do this. During week 5, we are going to actually make sure that when we look at sample tools and sample videos from classrooms, our team is making the same calls. And that may not be the way your team operates, but what I'm laying out is just we want to make sure that during this time, it's literally here are the concrete actions my team needs to take. Here are the things PDs are going to do, so here are the things as the program manager I need to set into my plan to make this happen. And I think what is going to be really important in doing this is figuring out how to make your plan make this work. And what I mean by that is I know for me, like sometimes when I'm using a template and I'm using a tool, I get so caught up into I need to put all my objectives here, I need to put all my actions here. And if that's useful and that's helping you to keep moving forward, then keep doing it. But if we're getting stuck in the process part and we need to just write down our thoughts somewhere else on a Word document, on a piece of paper, we should do that. We want to make sure that whatever it is going to take for us to take our two or three big priorities and make them actionable by the end of the next hour, then that's what we walk away from by the time we close out this through PDI session. So that as we move into work time, we're thinking about the actions PDs need to take and therefore the actions that we need to actually previously take as program managers. And so to close out bigger picture, I just want to frame us back to where we started yesterday within round 0. And just think about the really unique opportunities that our program directors have in setting up round 0 and executing round 0 and frankly in getting us to where we all really desire to be at the end of the 2009-2010 school year. We have so many returning program directors, some in the room, some who are not in the room, who are really going to be able to be our leadership force to make sure round 0 is getting to get the enhancements that we've been talking about for days. We also have so many new team members who are joining us who are coming from the core and actually have already internalized so much of this backwards planning because of the great work you all have been doing over the years that you've been program directors and program managers. And so I just think we're at a very, just a great point in time to be able to really think about the ability and the opportunity that our program directors have to ensure that our core members and our students across all of our regions not only end round 0 in an incredibly strong place with data and data relative to their goal, but that we're actually situating our core members and students to be ready to end the school year and be set up on a path for different opportunities in their lifetimes. And so I do think round 0 is a catalytic opportunity for all of us to be thinking about as we set our core members, program directors, and frankly, more importantly, our students forward on this movement in round 0 and beyond. So now we're going to get to the logistics. So we're going to have an hour of work time. So again, within this hour of work time, we have our priorities and we're going to be creating actionable plans. But one of the things we've been hearing loudly and clearly from you all is that there are a number of different things that are just top of mind for you. And we're sitting in tables and we have really the value of those who are at our tables right now, but there are probably other people in this room, some of whom we've heard from, who are thinking about different topics as well. So there are a handful of priorities up here. These may be your biggest priorities. They may, in fact, not be your biggest priorities. If these are things that you or someone on your team want to be discussing, we're going to just basically say this side of the room, we're going to have a group of people, if you want to come together to talk about topic X, topic Y, you have the ability to do that. So the topics we're thinking about are up here: retention, our second year strategy, just getting to being progress known and what that means, internalizing and using all the resources we've been talking about, and setting up our PDs for transformative relationships. So I'm literally just going to go around the room in a clockwise fashion and situate, here's a set of people who, if you're interested, come together to this space to talk about these topics. So let's just start over here. If we're interested in retention, let's come to the front of the room and probably bring